Alright, so with this XPath you will actually reach that step. Now you want to print this in the output. You can do that with dot text. Okay, and print. So here we are just printing the username label in our output. Similarly for password also, let's do that now. Okay, so password is here. Again, let's assume that all these are not unique and only form name, which is grandparent, is unique. Now let's try to use CSS here, or um, yeah, I can use CSS. So tag name equals to login. Right, now I am here. Okay, one element matching and the complete block is highlighted. So if I want to come to child, so for password code is little different. You can directly reach the child. There is no parent called div here. You see that this is not parent for this. When you open and expand and close, this is not getting impacted. You observe carefully. If you close this, this is still outside. If you open, this is still outside. That means this specific label is directly under parent of this form name equals to login. Earlier for username, it is not directly under login. That's like grandchild, because this is the parent and this is grandchild. But for password, if you carefully observe, there is no middle parent. Its direct parent is form name equals to login. So label is now direct child to this parent form name. So how to reach your child, direct child, is very simple, right? Oh, it's gone. Form name equals to login. And now if you want to go to your child, it's simple that you need to just say give one space if it is CSS and then give the tag name. You need to give slash if it is XPath, and this is direct child. And earlier there are multiple divs, so we gave div of index. But now there are no multiple label childs. There is only single child called label. So simply provide that with a space and hit an enter. Alright, it's still showing 3 elements. Okay, but this time the 3 elements are outside this block. On overall page, 3 child elements are found. Okay, so now how to help this? Now let's try to make this CSS more unique, which confined to only this form. Okay, for that there is a syntax called nth child. If it is XPath, we write like this, right? Go and click on first one. But if it is in CSS, you will say something like this: nth child of 1. Instead of having that index, you will represent like this: nth hyphen child of 1. Now hit and enter. You see that username is being highlighted. So out of these 3 labels, at first index, username is present. Now do second index. In second index, surprisingly, remember me is present. Okay, and third index, password is present. So that means our actual password is present in third child. So there is no rule that it should have like an sequence of 1 2 3. So that's why you have to use hit and trial method to understand that. If it is XPath, now I would simply say of label of 3. But if you want to achieve same in CSS, as I told in my last lecture, it is little tricky that you have to use this whole syntax. But that's fine. It's simple, right? If you use this syntax, now you can select any child if it returns multiple elements. Awesome. So we have now successfully created CSS as well, and do remember that this is the syntax: nth hyphen child to select the child. And in XPath you have to give like this. So print driver dot find element with CSS selector and I would say dot text. Alright, so let's run this code and see what will get printed in our output. So it should directly go to that page first and then navigate to another page, come back, and in the output you will see that username and password is being printed. So that's pretty much about handling parent-child traverse. One last topic before I close discussion on these locators. From our next lecture, we will jump into seeing some Selenium concepts like how to handle checkboxes, radio buttons and everything. Because we had pretty much good discussion on these locators and these are enough to kickstart your coding. And with upcoming lectures, you will get more hands-on practice and you will get more confidence on these locators when we start doing multiple examples on it. So I will wrap this concept with an important interview question like what is difference between absolute XPath and relative XPath. You can say here itself. Now for password, when I try to spy here, this plugin has created for me relative XPath, absolute XPath and CSS. Of course, we are not relying on it and we are creating our own locators. But if you carefully observe, absolute XPath is being generated by traversing tags. It started from this parent HTML. Okay, from HTML as a root or the main parent of this whole HTML of this page. From that page, it's carefully traversing to body, div, and it's finally reaching that password step. If I copy this and paste it here, you see that how it is traversing. It is like the way I explained you in earlier, like parent-child traverse, but it's using starting from HTML. So basically, absolute XPath is nothing but generating the XPath from the root of the HTML from this point. Whereas relative XPath will directly target that particular element with attribute defined for it. Now, instead of traversing, now XPath is directly hit on that specific password using the password text. If you remember, we have seen this kind of syntax, how to generate XPath based upon text as well. Okay, so here they used a regular expression. So that's it. Relative XPath can be generated using the customized XPath syntax whatever we have learnt in previous lectures, and it directly targets that element instead of traversing from its parent. But whereas absolute XPath will start traversing from its root of the HTML to your desired element. So that's the difference. And which is the better? Relative XPath is the better. Why? See, when you have these many tags like this, tomorrow if developer change his code little bit and if he remove any div inside it, that will break your whole XPath, right? Because this div is no more present now. They have updated some code which is not related to this form at all. But as you are traversing from your parent HTML, if they update somewhere in this at this image, and that image div is this, then obviously if this got changed, your XPath will be invalid. So that's why people generally suggest to rely on relative XPath than absolute XPath. Perfect. So with this, we are wrapping this entire discussion, and this document will be available for download in the next lecture. So you can put this as a reference and you can use it for your further lectures. All right. Thank you guys.